we never ever served. Conquered us, enslaved us. Then he says, "You free." Free to do what? Where's our government that we once had? You took away from us. We wasn't giving that back. We have a right to stand up and say, "Look, now we want to assert our right of self-determination." In Detroit, we don't like that. We have a descendant of slave masters as our mayor. The way he's treating us. He has us in perpetual poverty. He's been caught stealing billions of, overtaxing us by hundreds of millions of dollars, illegally evicting hundreds of people, and nothing has been done. We don't like the way we're being treated. We're going to stand up and just opt for to assert our right of self-determination. And boom, immediately we gain power over the situation. We're going to go over how we're going to do this. But this is the international as well. Write this down. International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. We're focusing on Detroit, if you're not. International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. But I'm going to take a little bit and read something for Detroit right quickly. Can you see what the name of this document is, everyone?
Yes, very clear.
What is it? What does it say?
Detroit.
The charter of the city of Detroit. Listen, Detroit. Because if we knew this, we wouldn't be so even know this is our own city charter. Don't even know it. But it applies to every city. If you Google city organizational chart, which shows the power structure of the city images, you'll see those charts. Every city, it has the residents as the #1 power of the city. We have power. We think that the mayor is the most powerful person. Listen, Malakia, do you have his phone is not muted? Let's stay on top of that. This is the city charter. #1. What's the first thing the city charter says? It is a service institution that recognizes its subordination. Right. Listen. First of all, what's a service institution? If the government is a service institution of service, they are called public servants. If they are public servants, then or masters, the masters are the public. It says Detroit City government that recognizes its subordination to the people of Detroit, meaning subordination, sub means under, ordination to do with orders. Under the orders. How many times in your lifetime have you seen the people get together to govern officials? Never seen it. Because you didn't even know. Give us orders, but that's absolutely wrong. Imagine working at anywhere you work, you orders. You give the owner, matter of fact, you give the owner some orders. And so you crazy, especially that owner actually listens to you. The owner is crazy. We look crazy because we are following orders and following dictates and policies. We think we have to submit to these policies. We don't have to submit to anything. They must submit to whatever. If the people of Detroit or any city got together and said, "Look, we want to paint the street together," the next morning with some city workers to paint that street purple because they're under the orders of. So when people don't know that, then we can be ran over, trampled upon, taken advantage of as we speak. Listen, y'all. I'll look slow in a minute. We're going somewhere with this. Overtaxed homeowners, $600 million. My God, $600 million. Years later, advocates still seek reparations, still seeking. Well, somebody steal your money, you back from the person that stole it. When do you think you're gonna get it back? Somebody can chime in and tell me, when do you get your money back if you seek to get it back from the thief? Ridiculous to even expect the thief to give you back the money that he stole. This overinvestment led to 100,000 Detroiters losing their homes. Listen, we're going. Here's another. City Council discusses measures measures to stop illegal eviction. This happens everywhere. Evictions. We're going to open up the floor in a minute. What the city council member says. What the city council member said. I went down to the third, and it's packed with people being evicted. With the assistance of our police department. The police itself are illegally evicting people. And what is being done about it besides complaints? What has been illegal abuse? We're talking about our right of self-determination. We're talking about human rights here. Listen, the nation's website I'm looking at, it says forced evictions and human rights. Forced evictions. Listen, the practice of forced evictions constitute a gross violation of human rights, in particular, the right to adequate housing. Who's going to do something about this? Who's going to do something about this? Man, with this. There's another declaration from, listen, this is the declaration, this is law here. It says, declaration on the right and responsibility of individuals, groups, and organizations to protect universally recognized human rights and fundamental freedoms. Brothers and sisters, adopted by the General Assembly, means including the United States, segregate your human rights or your general fundamental freedoms. Housing is one of the number one freedoms and rights. And nobody does anything about it. You as an individual, that's what this document is saying. Can stop it yourself. Your own police force. One man police force, woman police force, and stop them. We're going somewhere with this. Bear with us. That's what this call is sponsored by Human Rights. That's what we're organized to do in Detroit. To stop the human rights abuse, help their right of self-determination, meaning we can just simply take over the city. Of course, we have the consent of the people. Who do you know in Detroit will disagree with us stopping the mayor and the government from abusing the people? How many people you know in Detroit will get free housing and giving away the hundreds of thousands of empty properties? Who would disagree with that? Hey, who would disagree with having a new police force? Who would disagree with getting out wrongfully convicted and out of jail and prison? Well, if everybody would agree with it, then why would I? No, that's why. That's why we're on this call, because we know we're getting somewhere with this. Bear with us for a couple months. This is the right of self-determination. Again, write that down. And that's what we're doing in Detroit. When they do it, say, oh, you denying me my right of self-determination, the number one law in the world. And listen, after the United States even ratified what you call the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, that self-determination, they did that. They ratified it in 1992. Immediately after they ratified that, together in 1993 at Hamlin University Law School. And they had a conference reading Proceedings of the Conference on African Americans and the Right to Self-Determination. They said, hold on, the government just ratified this document protecting our rights. So be complaining, vote and hope, protest against violations of our rights, against mistreatment, against gentrification. We don't have to complain no more because we have a right of self-determination, voting and hoping Black people can organize themselves and just take control at this conference, because they said we can move away from the usual framework of protest and assert our human rights to simply take matters into our own hands. We're going somewhere with this. I'm not going to read much from this document. I'm going to read this first part. Historic in the United States have been discussed almost entirely in terms of United States Constitution, rather than in the broader international legal framework of human rights. They said we're still stuck on dealing with civil rights instead of our human right, which in Detroit, you've seen the many protests downtown about water and evictions water shutoffs and evictions being a human rights abuse or human rights abuses. But all this document, these lawyers are saying you can go beyond protesting and actually take matters into your own that's at stake here. If somebody's getting ready to kill you, you're going to wait for a police. You're going to defend yourself. So these lawyers are saying we have to shift actions seeking justice into some different actions in order to see. Say our attempt, applies to this call you're on right now. Bear with me for a few. Attempt today to begin the process of reorienting intellectual thought, self-determination. These are lawyers talking. It's first of all an act toward intellect, and is a historical landmark suggesting that we have finally broken free of the enslavement and now begin to contribute positively and meaningfully to African American freedom. Our attempt today is to get people to think, look, Detroit, Chicago, wherever you're at, don't orientate yourself around trying to march and seek some justice. Think about determination. You can collectively stand up and get rid of the police if you're marching about police brutality, about gentrification and legal eviction. You can stand up and stop it yourself if you can organize yourself to do so. Collective decision. If everybody agrees, or at least the majority agrees. And of course the majority agree. No, only a few know. These are lawyers. How many people is at this conference? This is at a law school. We never even heard of Hamlin Law School. I want to read something from the Attorney General. This is the Attorney General of Minnesota, where they killed George Floyd. Moves to dynamics. It is clear that the status of the African Americans is a subject of the state and not a citizen of it. And on that ground, the nation seriously needs to be recognized and even fought for. Bear with some of you all, but we want you to this to be ingrained in your mind. We have a right, we're going to do something about it. I'm going to end it with this document right here. All more lawyers, two lawyers. Both of them are professors of law. One of them a professor of law. That's who the work is describing his work, and the author is the professor of Georgia State University. Both graduated from Yale University Law School. It's called What Right to Self-Determination. See, lawyers know, look, we got something we can do beyond what we have been doing immediately. She sets the tone with this subheading: subordinated peoples, jurisprudence on which they act without a dominating people or groups, permissions of people. Jurisprudence is human rights, our right of self-determination, which is the subject of this. Our right to self-determination. We can determine what we want to happen in Detroit. If we talk, you ain't got to ask for no permission. You got to ask the land bank for nothing. Who do these houses with? Are they belong to the city? Who does the city belong to? We just read the city charter. The people of the city. The mayor, they just got into those positions. The power dynamics. We don't understand. We think they got the power. But we have the power. Listen, just read a couple things these lawyers are saying. These are lawyers speaking now. This is not something that the media want to try to tell you they're crazy because they working for the system that's trying to. Are African Americans and other people, this is I'm reading, this is what this lawyers, are African Americans and other peoples of color in the United States engaging in colonization? Are we moving toward genuine liberation rather than simply asking for superficial adjustments to the status quo? In other words, the self-determination seriously and act on it. This is a lawyer saying. He said, look, you got to ask for them to tell you to break the law. These lawyers are saying you got to act in Detroit, assert your right of self-determination, which we are doing, take over the housing. You want to stop the police brutality? Organize yourself, organize your own police force. Have been dismissed and disbanded because you're determined so. You're self-determined so. These are the powers that we have. How do you assert? According to the 1970 Declaration on the Principles of Interrelations and Cooperation Among States, quote, the establishment of a sovereign and independent, the free association or integration with an independent state, or the emergence of any determined by people constitute modes of implementing the right of self-determination. Matter of fact, we, the Republic of Detroit, we're our own nation. We can do whatever cities or our areas. I don't care if it's just one block, 6 blocks, like the white folks in Israel. They took over 6 blocks in Oregon because they were trying to illegally evict people. They were trying to illegally evict people. You know what the man and them did? They said, no, you can stay in those houses. Just give us areas back. Because they know that people had a right to take the areas. And now cities suffering because we don't know. Because we don't. How does the lawyer close this document out? The question becomes, what will it take to sustain and grow movements capable of territory change? As we move forward, we can learn much from what Professor Richardson has articulated about the ability of African Americans and other peoples of color within the United States to be self-determining. Beyond demands for equitable treatment. Stop demanding and asking. Or struggle in terms of decolonization and self-determination. Here's Professor Richardson does not presume to undertake that task for us, for by definition, one cannot exercise their right to self-determination. Rather, he identifies tools available. There's a whole bunch of lawyers giving us tools. That's what this call is about, everybody. We're just sharing some tools in law, but we don't know the law, so they use their tools, illegal tools. They use an illegal tool called the police force to evict us out of homes. And it's admitted that these evictions are illegal. They're using their tools. Illegal. We don't know the law, so we don't even use a legal tool or legal tools that we have to stop the evictions ourselves, to take over the cities ourselves and the assets that even give out. Disband police forces. We don't use those tools, even though those tools are available to us, so that we can know that these tools exist. Number one tool is the right. I'm not going to hold you long. Please download Google the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. You find these terms listed in the chat section. Read them, share them with your neighbors. Tell your neighbors about this call. We have it on Mondays. Right. We are asserting our rights. Tell your friends and families, neighbors, community.us and register their consent. That database of tens of thousands of people that we are acting upon. And in September, we plan on start occupying these houses, and we will be there to help shut down the police from stopping it. Evicting people, they just said we have a responsibility and a right to stop them human rights. And that's what the human rights policy officers are here for. We are here for those abuses and make sure you are in those homes in Detroit. So please alert everyone. With your friends and family can call the hotline for any questions they may have. Definitely come to this site and register. That database is the power base that we're acting upon. It's not that different. Look what white folks are doing all over America. Look what they did in Seattle a couple of years. In other places, creating autonomous zones just taking over areas because they have a right to. Look what they did at the state building, national building up in Washington, D.C. And we think that's crazy. That's what the people in Sri Lanka just did. They took over, ran the president away because they were acting corruptly and violating the people there as well. We can run up and run these people. We can gather ours. Thank you all for listening. I'm going to open up this floor for discussion. We can call it a town hall meeting so you can air out your grievances, any questions you may have, any critiques. You can simply hit that microphone on your screen.
Yes, I have a question. I talked to someone earlier. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Earlier, I bought a land bank house in December, and I called before to see if that address was I do space to stay. So I went on and I purchased the house. March, I had the water company come out to put in a meter and they told me that the services was cut from the street. Mind you, they told me that line was cut back in December. We in March. And I had to have my side of the property done, which I had the sewer line done. I had the line to the and yesterday one of the guys at the water company that I have to get the city side fixed. So that means I have to get the city side fixed. And I've been calling around to everybody to see if I can say anything that can help me because I have to have this land bank. I'm pretty sure everybody, the things you have to do with these land bank houses to be in compliance for your house. So I talked to somebody in your group earlier and they voiced my opinion in this group to see what I can do for my situation to be taken care of.
But they tell you got to have the city side fixed?
Yes. They said I have a right of way permit and find a plumber beside and connect me to the main tap. Now, I've never heard this. I've never had water service on it, but I've never heard where the homeowner had to put their side and the city.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, okay, I understand. All right, let me mute your phone so I can speak. It's kind of loud there. But the city, of course, is doing a lot of different things. Illegal, a lot of bills on the people that shouldn't be on the people because the city is bankrupt. It doesn't happen. And the funds that they have been getting, now, if you've been paying attention to the media for at least 10 years, misusing those city funds, giving those funds to the developers, instead of giving to the poor people to make the communities and areas that we live in even compliant and decent. So, of course, they don't pay for that. Like they making everybody pay for that $600 million if they make. Our address to the city is that we are abolishing the taking control ourselves. This thing, your story is a story I heard they're doing that to a number of people, and people have even been complaining, different institutions, even churches complaining about some extra fees they've been trying to throw in there for them to have to pay churches. All of these things is illegal by Detroit but they know that the people not going to fight him. One person, him or herself, won't affect much of a change or stop them from. That's why this is a collective action that we are taking. Give me your number, and I'm going to see about that and make a call. A situation works with that. I'm sure she has your number. Ultimately, you have to let people know these people have to be. That system has to be replaced. That's what they're going to keep on doing on purpose, trying to discourage us from even buying those houses that were created for Black people to buy those houses. It was created for the developers. Number one developer, Dan Gilbert. That's what the land bank was created for. It's not created for Black people. It's gentrification. The land bank was actually illegal at one time. I don't know how they came back declared illegal. I think in 2000, what year was that, Comrade Malaka, they was declared illegal? 2017. So I don't know how they came back. I think it was originally started by Mike Duggan's daughter was the head of it. It's the treasurer got caught illegally owning the real estate against city laws, policies. So all kinds of stuff is going on there in Detroit. That's why we ended up by just simply taking control, and we're going to be doing all that digging ourselves and straightening it out. But I'll call somebody, ask them in particular like that, if there's some way that can get handled. Any other questions? Any input? If not, I guess that's what we are talking about. Please make sure, if you're from Detroit, make sure you are aware of this call and aware of what's going on. We could have had this situation handled. We rallied 10, over 100,000. Government immediately hit the media and start issuing statements saying that we are scam. Of course, nobody wants to listen to a scam. So people abandoned us. It can't be a scam because we don't ask for one coin. That was just a trigger word that the people wouldn't amass themselves and use people power. People power. You can just go ahead and kick them on up out of the city halls if enough people gather. And we did have enough people gather at that time, so they got into panic mode and started utilizing the media to crush any dissension against government entities in the United States. So we need to let the people in Detroit know we're still here. We'll closure in September. People start occupying houses. We'll be putting people in these different departments that are abusing the people in Detroit, utilizing our right to do so. As we just showed you, have a right to do so. So just make aware. That's why we're on the campaign now, just to bring awareness to the people of Detroit, because it was the ignorance of the people of Detroit, this program. We have to end that ignorance. Any other questions?
Comrade Blue, Comrade Desmond. I was asking, do we put our luggage in about to sleep at when we get there?
You probably stops the call, of course.
Okay.
Thank you all for anything. Go ahead, Ms. Louise.
Wondering, because I hear everything you're saying, as far as you guys coming as a group and getting people to, make the right for us as Black people. Is this like, how can I put it? Like a group will be able to like with me to help me in my situation?
Good question. Yes, ma'am. We're helping in every situation. We're not just. Let me mute because your phone background noise. Yeah, we're not just definitely out. It's not together. People already have spoken. We know what the will of the people is. We're coming to execute and to help situations, charge of those situations. But number one, first port of call, of course, is putting those in. Did you say your water was on, or did they cut it off? What happened? Was it working at one time, Louise?
No. Like I said, when I bought the house, that the line was already cut. The house had been sitting up for 5 years. Mm-hmm. And listen, now the land bank did make me aware that the house, or like I said, that line was cut. The information nice. So I bought the house at the house as is, and it's my responsibility to homeowner side done and the city side done. Mm-hmm. And like I said, because I've never heard of, plumbers doing the city job.
No, they should definitely, they supposed to handle that. And the land bank should themselves for selling you a house in that condition. They know that it wouldn't be functioning to actually be a house. If you can't get the water, then it's actually not considered decent housing. It's a human rights abuse itself. Any house without water is not, I don't care if it's a mansion, it look like Rick Ross, water is not considered livable. So how can they sell you a house that's not needed, roof, etc.? If you don't have water, it's not a livable house. So they were in that was not livable in the first place. But as we said, they're wrong in the first place. Take care of that situation. I'm gonna look into it. But that's what we had to solve those situations from happening and solve those situations ourselves.
Thank you.
We're going to be communicating with you definitely, though. Then make others aware, because this is a very serious move going on, and it's going to push back. Because they've been pushing back. If you're from Detroit, you know who sponsored the mayor. His sponsor is Dan Gill with the real estate developer. That's the police chief. So the police chief represents the interests of the mayor. The mayor represents the interests of the real estate fine. So now the police chief sends out his police force to illegally, thousands of people have been illegally evicted by the police force. The city council just admitted that. Council member admitted that. But still nothing is being done. That's why we're coming. So this is not a game. They can stand up with us as well. Any able-bodied man, you should tell them to get in touch with us as well. We're organizing them to stand up and take charge of their communities to stop these violence. There's going to be some serious things going on in Detroit. You'll have first-hand knowledge of it. You have first-hand sight of it. Well, thank you. Don't worry. We're here for you. We're going to solve all these problems.
Excuse me. Sister, please check your text message. I want to make sure I have your number correct.
Any other questions? Anybody on this call got any questions? Please ask, especially if you're from Detroit. If you got any, don't leave this call with a question in your brain. Make sure it's if not, you must understand completely what we're talking about. It's simple. We have a right to self-determination. The people are the power anyway. In Black, we can simply organize ourselves if enough of us agree and enough of us agrees. also humanitarian intervention, and we are intervening to stop these human rights abuse. As the law dictates, not just a right to, it says we have a responsibility to. It's our responsibility, not the mayor of Black people in our communities. It's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to know our rights. It's not the responsibility of somebody who can care less. You got a white mayor. Did you think he cares about your Black self? Of course not. We care about ourselves, so we're going to assert and practice self-determination. That's all for attending this call. Thank you all for being extraordinary, for listening to something that ordinary conversation. It's not an ordinary town hall meeting. We're discussing an extraordinary voting, protesting, and hoping something changes is an ordinary action. It gives you a miserable condition that we are in and the violations that we continue to suffer. Asserting your right to self-determination and taking over by any means necessary action. In accordance to the laws of science and mathematics, an extraordinary result. The extraordinary result is going to be everybody in Detroit has housing. Detroit is treated fairly. The land makers are going to stop abusing people. Water situations are going to be handled. And the police force is going to be disbanded for participating in those human rights. So thank you all for being extraordinary, participating in extraordinary conversation and extraordinary action. We'll be back on this call Friday at 8 Eastern. In the meantime, our website is detroit.gov.us. Please share that with others. And the website is, the hotline number is 888-999-6530. We're focusing on, of course, whatever we discussed today. If you're from other areas, it does apply. You have a right of self-determination. Well, we can get ourselves in agreement. First, in awareness. And of course, after that awareness, everyone get ourselves in agreement. Then you're going to assert your right and take control over your communities. A blessed night, human rights policy officers.
Salute, comrade.
Salute.
Comrade.